Well, hello and welcome to episode 55 of the Georgie and Patty Show.
I'm Georgie.
And I'm Patty. Our topic today has something to do with boredom and not getting bored or being bored or getting unbored or something like that. And Georgie's like, do you have a quote of the day? And I'm, of course I have a quote of the day. And our quote of our episode this morning is brought to you by, and I don't have the picture, and I just remembered this old feature that we had, Name the Dead White Guy. Our quote of the day is from Schopenhauer, because nothing says "Yay Wednesday" like a quote from 19th century German philosopher. He has a lot to say about boredom, actually. I'm actually going to give you more than one quote of the day. How's that?
Oh, that's fun.
Of the day. It's like a bonus, right?
Yeah.
Life swings like a pendulum, backward and forward, between pain and boredom. Give you a moment to take that one in. Is there truth in that? And the official quote of the day for our topic. Boredom is just the reverse side of fascination. Both depend on being outside rather than inside a situation, and one leads to the other.
Very exciting.
So there's our deep philosophy for the day. And with that, I will turn this over to my partner, Georgie, for some practical insight.
Some slide sharing fun.
Slide sharing fun.
Slide sharing fun. I will share my screen. Where's my picture? There it is. Oh, things in my way, so I can't move it. I should get this thing more organized like you have it, where it just starts. But anyway, I don't have that. So here we go. This is going to be an adventure because I got a little bit sidetracked. So this is going to be an adventure today. But our topic is really looking at how can we stay focused when we start to get bored. And I think this is one of these other sides of being in business. It's all super awesome and we're excited. And then the reality is sometimes we're not. Sometimes we're bored. Sometimes we don't want to do it. So what can we do when we hit that spot? Because it's really easy to stay motivated when things are going well. When the clients are coming in, when we're doing the work we love, we see the money in the bank. We feel like, yeah, I'm making a difference. I'm learning new stuff. It's easy to stay motivated when we're in that space. But what happens when we get unsure? When we feel like no one's paying attention to us, like the sales aren't coming in. We know that we have to do some of the things that we don't want to do. What happens when we get into that space, or when we get literally just bored with the things we've been doing? Been doing it for a while. It's like, I'm looking for something new. I've got this. It's handled. Then what do we do? Well, it's really is that ability to be able to work when the work itself isn't easy. That's really going to make the difference for you in your business, right? To get you moving towards the success level that you want, the goals that you want. It's when this stuff comes up. Can I do it when it's hard, or when it's not easy, or when I'm bored out of my freaking mind? How do I do that? Right? So that's what we're going to talk about today. I have a few of these little, well, how do you do that, Georgie? Well, you might remember this little circle looking thing. I didn't know how to animate the lines at the same time, so you get the lines with it. Sometimes good enough is good enough. So you might remember this one side of this, where we've talked about why, we've talked about how, we've talked about what, and this is all linked to Simon Sinek and his golden circle, right? People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. There's another fellow who also uses this lovely little circle, and it actually lines up perfectly with this one. He talks about identities in the middle. So who are you? Who do you want to be? That outer or middle ring there, how we would call that one, is about the processes. So these are your habits, your routine, your schedules. Basically, how do you do what you do? and then outcomes, which links very much to the what is the result that you want. And this is by James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits. And I love how things line up because this is one of my favorite diagrams. So very often when we're thinking about our goals, we're really just thinking about the result. You know, we see our success as kind of one event, and it's something that we achieve and we complete. I get 25 clients. I make $100,000 a year. I make $10,000 a month. I do 14 assessments, but things are really linked to the outcome. I lose 20 pounds. I build 10 pounds of muscle. I run a marathon. Everything is kind of, we look at things sort of as these, at the end result, right? If I could get my business featured in Entrepreneur Magazine, I'll be successful. Just that one thing, that's all I'm going for. If I could be on Oprah, if Oprah would just say my name, my business would be all set, right? So we often think about outcomes first, or if we look at Simon's version, with the what first. So we're working from the outside in. You probably all know where this is going because you've seen the diagram, right? But what we really want to start to do, instead of being so outcome focused, particularly in our business, we want to start to fall in love with the process of doing things. We want to fall in love with these daily practices, basically the boredom. Because what happens is, I think as human beings, our brains really, we love new things. We love novelty. So when we start doing the same things over and over and over again, we get bored. We start looking for something new to do. So how do we start to fall in love with these daily practices, these daily things that we are required really to build the business that we want to do? So this is a very exciting permission slip for you that you get today, is that it's actually okay to be boring. It's okay to fall in love with being completely bored, with sitting in this space and recognizing that it's going to happen. And maybe the permission slip is really, it's okay to accept the fact that sometimes building this business is boring. And what can we do when we're in that space? How do we do it? How do we fall in love with these processes? How do we fall in love with the daily things, right? We all know we need to be reaching out to people. We need to be doing marketing. Like if you really want your business to reach the success level you want, if you really want to make a difference with your business, if you really want to make an impact, it's kind of a requirement to fall in love with the process of marketing. The only way people are going to know about your business, the only way it's going to be, you know, in the magazine or anything like that where people are going to hear about you is if you are marketing. And a lot of times we look at some of those efforts and the things we do for marketing as the boring tasks or the things we're afraid to do. So how can we start to fall more in love with those things that are going to get us the results that we really desire? We go back to our circle here. We're going to start working from the inside out. So instead of being outcome focused, we want to fall in love with that middle, the kind of the process piece. We want to start from the center, which in this case, I'm going to move over to James's version of this, and we're going to look at your identity. So who are you? Because quite often it's our behavior actually gives us clues as to what we really believe about ourselves. And so this is kind of one thing you might want to start looking at is, what are the things I'm doing every day? What are the things that are working for me, are not working for me? Because they give you a clue to kind of who you believe you actually are. And the great thing about this is we can change our identity. It's totally possible. So a lot of times too, these things that we're doing, some things we're conscious of, and some things are that we aren't even aware that we're doing. They're happening more at an unconscious level. We just do things, right? We're in autopilot, we go along and we do things. And I think part of this happens because of the narratives that we're telling ourselves. Think of the things that you say to yourself all the time. Like I was thinking, I don't have my book in here. I was going to show you guys, but I'm actually creating a list of the narratives I tell myself. What are the stories I'm constantly saying to me about me? Just for an example that's not business related, I'm always saying that I'm directionally challenged. When I'm hiking, I'm directionally challenged, I'm directionally challenged. So then I'm like, is that actually true? Is it true that I'm directionally challenged? Sometimes I feel like it is, yes. Sometimes I get lost and sometimes I don't. But then when I look at that, I can go, okay, so how is that impacting me? Well, I often won't go explore a new trail because I'm afraid I'll get lost. I'm afraid I won't make it back. Or then I stop myself from maybe going on hikes when I want to go on hikes because I have no one to go with who's more able to follow directions. But then I can look at and go, well, you could actually do something about that. Perhaps you could learn to read the GPS better. Perhaps you could take a course. I could become very good at directions. So if this is really important to me, what can I do about it? I can change the narrative that I'm running in my head. Maybe some of your narratives are, I suck at sales. I'm terrible at talking to people. I don't even know what marketing is. I'm not good enough to do a speech. I always get nervous before I do a talk, always, like always. All of these things that we tell ourselves all the time start to become who we believe we are. Because then it's not, sometimes I don't know how to follow the directions. It becomes, I am directionally challenged. It's not, sometimes I kind of lose my place in my speech. It's, I am a terrible speech giver. So these things start to shape our identity. So really, I encourage you to start to take a look at what are the narratives that you are constantly running, because this is shaping who you believe you actually are. The other piece of this is a lot of these beliefs, as we know, are conditioned through our experiences. They start from when we're very tiny, when we're little babies. And then as we, start growing, we do more kid things, we start to go into school. Oh, you're ugly. People with this color hair, we don't like you. People who are short, people who are tall, we start to believe all of these different things. And our experiences also show us the things that we can do. Like imagine or think back to an experience where you did something you thought you couldn't do, and then you did it. Suddenly that belief in yourself starts to shift a little bit. And if you keep repeating these things and having these experiences that support this, I can climb mountains, I can make sales. Imagine what happens when you, say in our case, we create this assessment, you do that assessment, and what do you know? That person actually wants to buy your service. Something starts to kind of tweak in there where you're like, oh, maybe I can do this. And you repeat it again. Look at that, it happened again. And then I do another assessment and it goes really well too. So I start to think about, okay, I can start, just maybe, I don't suck at sales. I can start to shift who I am. But we have to do this enough to give ourselves time to develop this belief. Oh, but then we get bored. I'm tired of calling people. I've been doing this all day. It sucks. Interesting little loop we start to create there. But the more we can repeat these behaviors, then we start to reinforce our identity that's associated to these different behaviors. So whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's talking to people, whether it's working out, right? Like if I want to be, say, fit, I am a fit person. What does a fit person do? Maybe in my mind, a fit person exercises 5 days a week. The more I repeat that pattern of I exercise every day, every day, every day, every day, I start to identify then, oh, I am a fit person. You know, I'm eating healthy. I repeat that every day, every day, every day, every day. I start to then associate with myself with that new identity. Where before, maybe I was like, I am lazy. Lazy, lazy, lazy. That's not me. I will never be fit because I am lazy. Every day that I eat my bag of potato chips, lie on the couch for 6 hours watching Netflix, I'm reinforcing the identity that I am a lazy and I am unfit. But if I start to change my behaviors, I can start to change my identity. So these things kind of all go together. James Clear has this sort of two-step process to identity change. I'm sharing his because two steps seem simple. Simple does not always mean easy, and it's a nice starting point for us. So the first thing we want to do is we really want to decide the kind of person that we want to be. Who do I really want to be? And in this case, let's just make it really small and let's think about you as a purpose-driven entrepreneur. Who do you really want to be in that space from the inside, right? How would you show up? Who do you want to be? And then the second way to do this is then to start to prove it to yourself with really tiny little wins along the way. We want to set ourselves up to reinforce this identity. So sometimes when we start from, it's harder to start from the beginning without thinking about the outcome. So in this case, if my outcome is to be a successful entrepreneur, or maybe I want to be fit, or maybe I want to be a speaker, whatever it is, sometimes it's easy to think about what is the outcome that I want, and then we can start to think about who is that person that would achieve that outcome? What type of person would that person be, right? So if I was a successful, purpose-driven entrepreneur that really made a difference in the world, what would I be doing? Who would I be? I might be consistent. I might do the hard things. I might be great at sales. I might be compassionate and empathetic, and I stand up for what I believe in. I believe that people matter. I'm going to be really clear about what are the principles, the values, and beliefs that this type of person holds. And who do I want to be as this kind of person? And often this is a question I ask myself a lot. And as I was going through this, I was like, oh, wow, I question myself quite frequently, actually, kind of my go-to list of questions. So when I get into a situation, like one of my first questions is always to myself, what do you want, Georgie? Like, what do you want right here? So then I'll be like, okay, I want to build and grow my business. Okay. Then who do I need to be in this moment to do that? Okay, then I can look at, and am I showing up in this way? This works really great, not only in business situations, in personal situations, like literally I use these questions pretty much across the board, but I find they give me that space to pause and I have to think about who is it that I want to be? And I think we sometimes don't spend enough time on this question. We just kind of skim through it. It's one of those fun little exercises we can do. It's like to tick off the box. Yeah, I've done it. But I would encourage you to actually spend some time, write it out, create a picture of it. You know, we talk about this with like, who's your inner superhero? It's kind of along the same lines. If this inner superhero is who's showing up to build this business, who is she or who is he? What qualities, characteristics, beliefs, values, what does this person stand for? And how often am I showing up in that space? Then, of course, I get to bring in my other favorite model. Because as we are creating this identity, which you see is just down there from the top, I can literally go through, okay, as this person, what are my values and what are my beliefs? What are the skills and capabilities I would have if I was this person? Then we drop down to this behavior piece. What would you be doing? And that could include what would you be thinking, what would you be saying, what are the actual actions you would be taking? And where might this be happening? What environment? Because I think the environment's important too, to start to set you up for success, to move that space of boredom. If I'm bored and I don't want to do my work, if I go lie on the couch and put on Netflix, the odds of me changing that behavior, 0 is going to happen. But maybe I can set, my office is set up a certain way. Maybe I'm going to just do it for 10 minutes. You know I need to reach out to people. I know it. It's a skill, it's a capability. I know I need it because I am the kind of person that does my work when it's hard. I do work when it's hard. I do work when I'm bored. What if I adopt that identity? Okay, I'll do it for 10 minutes. Then I can go do something fun. It's totally fine to trick your mind, but you can use this model, pyramid, whatever you want to call it, to really start to think about who would you be? What would you do? To start to cement some of these things into changing that identity so that you can change your behavior. The other piece of this is to start to prove it to yourself with small wins. And this is where we can start to create those habits that are going to support you to be that person that you want to become. So when you've kind of gone through who I am, what do I want to be, what would I do, then you can start to think of what would I be doing? And then what habits can I create that will support that? So imagine, let's just go back to our one about being the entrepreneur. I'm purpose driven, and I know that sales is a really important part of my business. How do I get sales? How do I do marketing? One thing might be okay, I know I've had some success with doing these assessments. I want to keep doing my assessments. How does that happen? By reaching out to people. And sometimes we may make it a little more challenging on ourselves to be like, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do direct outreach for 1 hour. While I think that's a really great idea, it might be too much to do at that particular time, especially if you're in that space of really being bored, really being not so happy with being in the dip, right at that space. Maybe an hour is just too much. But what if you said to yourself, I'm going to do 10 minutes of direct outreach Monday to Friday. And then how can I set myself up for that? So maybe it's my first task of the day. I sit down on my desk, I set my timer for 10 minutes, and for 10 minutes, I do some direct outreach to, work on meeting people and getting people into my assessment. 10 minutes. And then stop after 10 minutes. Just stop. And then you can do anything else that you want to do. And then ways that you can kind of celebrate this little win is if you have maybe a calendar that you have, and every day that you do your 10 minutes, just put a little tick mark on that calendar. Because what happens is our brain also likes to see the reward of it. We like instant results. It's fun. It helps to keep us motivated. That goal of building your successful business or getting up to $10,000 a month or $3,000 a month or what it is, whatever your number may be, is a kind of more of a long-term type goal. It's not something that's going to give you instant results right away. Now you might get one sale for $2,500. Amazing. Awesome. We celebrate that. But the thing is, we want to do this consistently. But if you can pick some of these tiny little wins, 10 minutes I did this, there's my tick mark. We like to do the tick every day. We like to look at it and see the chain growing. So it helps us to stay motivated and to do things. So we want to keep doing it. And then the other thing is to really become aware of when you're showing up as that person you want to become. Because often we ignore that too. And we don't celebrate those things. I have a book in my same book with my narratives that I run, and I have ineffective behaviors that I'm doing, but I also have the things I'm doing when I show up as the person I want to be. So when clients say things to me, when I recognize, oh, I did my 10 minutes when I really, really didn't want to, I'm going to write that down and I'm going to celebrate it. Maybe even with cake. Who knows? Because I love cake. You know, so doing those kinds of things really, really helps. And sometimes we think writing the wins down and celebrating them are not important, but they're really, really important if we want to reinforce our behavior that then is going to change our identity. So the habits support the identity supports the habit. We start to create a loop, because as I start to believe I am someone who's capable of being successful and making a difference and creating this business, I'm going to start to implement new habits. And then those habits reinforce the identity, and in circles and circles we go. This was also by James Clear, where he was saying that just 1 hour of focused and deliberate practice each day can deliver incredible results over the long run. So eventually you can work that 10 minutes up to 1 hour a day. If 1 hour a day, I'm going to be focused and very deliberate about letting people know I exist, letting people know I do these assessments, finding people who can refer me to do my assessments or to, you know, bring clients into my business. 1 hour of the 24 that you have focused on that will get you results over the long term. I think James Clear, when he first started writing, and I think on his website or his blog, he's got, I don't know how many thousands of articles, but when he started, he was like, I'm going to publish something Tuesday and Thursday. I'm going to sit down, and I think he had a specific amount of time. I'm going to write. If I only write 3 sentences, I'm publishing it. That's what's happening. And he did that every Tuesday, Thursday, whatever it is. And what he noticed was, as he published more and more and more, that consistency of publishing, his subscribers grew and grew and grew and grew. And now I think he gets over 1 million visits to his site, I want to say a day. Like it's some incredibly crazy number. But he's like, I've been doing this every single day for 4 years. And then he actually has this chart where he shows number of articles published to subscribers, and it starts to grow. But it takes a while. It didn't happen in like 2 months. It took a while for that thing to start growing. So it's this consistent effort. But if we know we do the things that a successful business person does, for him, he's a writer. What does a writer do? I am a writer. A writer writes, whether it's good, whether it's bad, but he writes. Someone asked Jerry Seinfeld how they could be a better comedian. He says, write more jokes. You need more good jokes. How do you get more good jokes? You just write jokes till they get better and better, right? You want to be good at talking to people? Talk to more people. You want to get better at your sales conversations? Have more sales conversations. Practice it. Set aside time to practice getting better. So my final quote here by Mr. James, again, because I'm following his chart, is that, you know, you do absolutely have the power to change your beliefs about yourself. These things are not set in stone, right? Your identity can be changed. You have a choice in every single moment. So you can choose the identity that you want to reinforce today with the habits you choose right now. And often if we can come to this moment, to being present right now, and like, what choice am I going to make now? I realize I'm bored. I don't really want to do this. So then I start to think about all the things I could be doing. So I'm moving into the future. And then maybe I start to think about just how crappy I am at stuff. So I'm back into the past. But if I can come, or, well, the last time I phoned someone, I was so nervous, or maybe it didn't go well. We start to create all this stuff. If we can come back to right now, and just for this moment, what choice would I make right now? Right now for 10 minutes, I'm just going to make a couple calls. I'm just going to practice working on my sales conversations. I want to write for my blog. I'm going to write for 10 minutes. I don't know how to make content. I don't know what to say. 10 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. Start with something that you know you will consistently do, and then increase it. And if you start to do that when you're bored, the boredom will pass, and you'll get through it. And then I'm going to share more sort of, I was thinking about this as I was going through this, that I'm going to share more specific things on Monday for some kind of really a deep dive of, you could do this, and this is how you would do that. You could do this, and this is how you could do that. How do we make these things easier based on kind of who we are and where we want to go and be? So that is my slide deck for the day. Questions, thoughts, you know, and I think the thing with boredom too is how can we make it fun? I love fun. So even when I'm bored, I need to think about, okay, I know I'm bored. What's under my boredom? Sometimes like I'll take things under that. What's really happening for me? But then how can I make this fun? You know, and maybe it's even, maybe I need to phone someone and be like, hey, call me in 10 minutes and ask me if I made some phone calls. Okay, bye. You know, if that works for you. Hey, I just said I was going to reach out to people for 10 minutes. I can't think of anybody. Do you have anybody I could just send an email to? Okay, bye. How do we make it exciting and fun when we're bored and still do the things that we need to do? It's going to happen because we're humans.
There's so much. There's so much that you covered today.
I know, right?
Trying to unpack, right?
That's why I did I'm like, oh, this is just gone like overview. I'm like, I could take literally each of these pieces and narrow it down.
Yeah, because you know it raises some questions, right? It's like the boredom is actually a judgment that you have about whatever it is that you're doing. This is boring. I don't want to do it. This sucks, right? Like that's the chatter that goes on in my head. I don't know if anyone else can relate to that.
Exactly.
And then it's like, okay, so where is that chatter coming from? Like, is this a clue that you're actually doing something that isn't in alignment with who you are and what you need to be doing? Is it a clue to change? Or is it a clue that maybe there's some fear underlying it?
Exactly.
Like, what is it? And I know for me, like, and this is very boring. Sometimes it's just, that's a space I go to before I actually start picking up my tools and working.
Yeah.
Like the boredom goes away once I am engrossed in the task.
Exactly.
And, you know, and this kind of brings me back to my Schopenhauer quote, right? Like this idea that boredom comes from the outside, not the inside.
Exactly. And
it's just kind of that place of being active, keeping your hands busy, right? It's very, very rare that I'm doing something and aware that I'm bored. I get the bored awareness when I get stuck. Like if I'm writing and I'm reached a place where I'm not sure what to say next, where to go next, and it starts to feel hard, all of a sudden I'm like, this is boring.
Yes, this is boring. I don't want to do it anymore. And then like you say, what's underneath that I think too is, oh, actually I'm feeling challenged with this right now. But isn't it interesting how my go-to then is I'm bored.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it anymore. It's just boring. Yeah. You know, because it's like somehow that's acceptable, but it was unacceptable to go to, oh, this is hard. I'm finding challenge in it, which I think can go link back to identity too. Who do I believe I am to think it's not okay for this to be hard, but it's okay for it to be boring? Because
exactly, because I'm supposed to be good at writing, right?
I'm supposed to be good at writing, right? Yeah, yeah.
You know, and then it's even like questioning into that. Okay, so why is this challenging? Why is it challenging? Is it challenging because I'm not sure exactly what I'm saying here? Is it challenging because I'm holding myself up to some kind of a standard that I can't achieve? You know, it's kind of like pulling that apart a little bit, because bored is kind of like, oh, I'm bored, so I'm gonna go get a snack, right?
Exactly.
But it's not bored. Like it's like it really isn't actually bored. It's procrastination.
Exactly. And I think that's the biggest thing is actually, if you can take the time to dig under it, like what's really going on there? which eventually will lead to, right? What do I believe about myself? Oh, isn't that interesting? And sometimes it's not fun work. It's just easier to be bored and pick something new. Ah, I need some air. Ah, I need a snack. Ah, I just need a few minutes of YouTube. It'll be fine. And sometimes you do. I think sometimes you do actually need a break. But I think when we take the time to dig under it, we can go, actually, and I've been actually sitting here for like 2 hours. My eyes are screaming at me right now. I I really need a break. But you're making a decision from a space that's based on inquiry, as opposed to just kind of a reaction. This is a good one. For me, I feel bored of something if I think it may not pay off or my efforts are going to waste.
It's like you're inside my head. I go there so frequently. So frequently. It's, yeah. Because this is this reality, right? Like this is this gap, this dip, right? Between starting and finishing. And sometimes it requires an enormous amount of labor to get from A to B. And when you're in the middle of it, it's kind of like, yeah, is it going to pay off or my effort's going to go to waste? And like, this is what's true for me, is that's also based on patterns where I've given up on projects midway and my efforts do indeed go to waste. Because not pushing through the dip and getting to the other side means it doesn't get finished. It took me 9 years to finish my book. The number of books that I started and tossed, gave up partway through, deleted it. I'd be like, I'm never going to write this stupid book, and delete. All the files gone. And it's just, yeah, so then I'm in the middle of it, and I'm like, yeah, this is boring, this is hard. And is it going to pay off? Probably not, because I didn't finish it last time.
Yes, exactly. What's that thing? I don't know who said it, but it's like, can I, or am I willing to suffer the 10 years of silence? And it goes back to something where I think it was like a lot of the great composers and creators and those kinds of things, it actually took them over 10 years before they finally got something that was actually sold or recognized, and those kind. I think it's kind of where the basis of the 10,000 hours came from as well. But it's like, can I really? Which I think it's kind of awesome how it took you 9 years to write your book. So can I really sit in this for 10 years and just keep doing it? And for you, it was write, delete. And you were still writing blogs and those kinds of things too, right? But can I sit there and see what happens? It's
so interesting. Just that makes me think of too. This is all wide ranging, right? Makes me think of that Ira Glass quote where he talks about taste, and when you start off doing something, your ability doesn't match your taste. It's like, and that I know that was very, very, very true for me for my writing. In fact, it still is that I never write as well as I want to be able to write. And what Ira Glass says is that your ability needs to catch up to your taste. And the fact that you have the taste is why you're dissatisfied with what you're doing, is because you actually have the ability to tell the difference between good writing and bad writing, right? Other people don't care. Like if they don't have the taste, they don't care.
Yes.
But when you care and you know, it's like you just can't live up to that. And like I'm thinking that must be just so true for painters and sculptors and fashion designers and anybody that does anything creative, where you have this vision in your head and you can look and you can critique and you can go, wow, this is amazing. And then you sit down and do your own work and it's not amazing, and you know it's not amazing. Just
exactly.
Like, there's that piece of it too, right? And it can feel really boring when you're not seeing the progress.
Exactly. And the only way it's going to get amazing is to keep doing the work.
Push through the dip.
Push through the dip and just keep doing, because it's the practice. It's the routine of doing that same thing over and over and over again, and increasing your skill and getting better and better and better and better. And it's so that thing we don't want to do. And I think that's why we have to be driven by something bigger. It has to be, I'm writing this book because I have valuable work that can help the world. Like, so I'm going to keep doing because I want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. It's who I am. I am someone who, I feel like I'm here to make a difference and do something bigger. It's like people that are really great public speakers. That first public speech they gave was probably not as stellar as what you're seeing right now. And the only way to get better is to keep doing it, keep practicing. For doing, Zoom presentations, anything we're doing, we have to just keep doing the work. And I think the more we can make it consistent, and dare I say that word, routine and structured and scheduled, the faster we will become better at it, right? If we go back to, fitness, if I work out once a month, it's going to take me forever. I'm probably never going to get there. If I increase that to some kind of consistency, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, whatever it is, the more I practice it, the faster I'm going to get where I want to go. If I want a full practice of clients, the faster and the more consistent I am with doing those things to reach out to people and practice that stuff, the faster it's going to happen. If I'm only trying to reach out and do my marketing once a month, it's going to take me a really, really, really long time. But if I can do those daily things, and I somehow make it part of my routine, I schedule it. But I actually have proof and evidence in my life that I like that. When I am structured, I just do it then. When I'm scheduled and it's in and it's booked and I have a routine, I just do it. It just happens. And when I'm like, meh, what is the thing, right? There's more freedom in discipline, or discipline brings freedom. I can't think of what the thing is, but as much as I would love to argue with it.
Oh, I'm with you. It's like deadlines, right? Pressure, outside pressure, getting stuff done for clients. It's like, yeah. But, I observed something really kind of interesting yesterday on myself working on a client project, where I was just kind of discerning. It's like, okay, like, what am I trying to do here, right? Because I was trying to edit a PDF. Like, that was the problem, was we had a freaking PDF file needed to be edited, right? And I'm like, I can't edit a PDF, so I'm installing the Adobe Acrobat software in order to edit the PDF. I'm getting frustrated with the tool because it's not doing what I want it to do. And I just took a step back and I'm like, okay, what is your mission here, Patty? Do you want to get good at using Adobe Acrobat, or do you want to make the edits to the document? Like, what is the thing that you're trying to do here? Because I sometimes get caught up in these extraneous tasks. It's like, I don't give a rat's ass about getting good at Adobe Acrobat. That is not I don't want to develop a skill set in that. I don't want to be great at it. I don't want to do that sort of thing. I want to do these edits. And if the edits don't come out perfect, that's okay. And then because my deliverable for the client is the edits, not the finalized document. Yes. And then it becomes, here you go, I've made the edits. If you need it to look better than it does, we're going to need to find somebody who's good at that. And it's just, I don't have to, it doesn't have to be perfect, and I don't have to do other people's jobs too, right?
Exactly.
It's kind of like, And I think sometimes that because yeah, I get bored of using software, right? Like I'm bored of using software, but it's because I'm wandering into an area that is not mine. I'm not a graphic designer. I don't aspire to be one. So as soon as I wander into that area, I'm faced with this enormous amount of stuff I don't know. And it's all frustrating and it's boring because I can't see any progress. And I'm like, it's a freaking mountain to climb.
Exactly.
But it's not
So
my
true.
mountain.
But it's not your mountain. Exactly. But you're trying to climb. It's like, come on, come on. Why
And
am I
that's an
falling
identity
off?
thing, right? I deliver great work. I am known
Exactly.
for delivering great work. And it's like, how am I judging that?
Exactly. And then, yeah, what are the narratives that I'm running? What behaviors are showing up here? Like, oh, that's like, it literally, that's why I love that. There's lots of reasons, but like the Dilt's pyramid there, I can start to identify where's my issue? Where can I change? And almost always going to come back into looking at, who do I believe I am? That's leading me to these behaviors that are clearly not serving me. I'm spending all this time trying to figure out how to do graphic design because this is who I think I am because I have to deliver this thing. What?
Yeah.
What is that?
I think sometimes this is what makes life difficult. Is that discernment, right? Am I avoiding something that I need to do, really? Or is this boredom showing up to give me a clue that, no, you're on the wrong path?
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, and it's just like, and that's where it helps to be old and to have experience and wisdom to know that, no,
Yes.
I've done hard things before. And there's a very, very different feeling to climbing my mountain versus climbing a mountain that is not mine.
Exactly. It's so true. And it takes that space of being willing to go into that, inquire. Let me have a look here. What's really happening? Right? It's all that inside stuff.
Yes.
Let's see. What do we have here in the chat? The first thing I ask myself when I'm bored is, why am I bored? Digging deep resulted in massive changes in my life over the last year. COVID Retreat 2020 has allowed me to make lots of little wins and catapult things forward in a new chapter, personally and professionally. It's, almost the forced slowdown, right? Sometimes I try to be too perfect and it slows me down, so I don't see progress and I get bored. We talked about getting done is better than being perfect, but that has helped me very much. Yeah, it's so easy to get stuck there. My story, exactly. If you'd asked a younger me after my first presentation if I would ever be helping others give memorable presentations, I would have thought I was insane. It was indeed practice, practice, practice that got me where I am now. Learning as well as practice. Exactly. And I think it's through the practice that we can recognize too, oh, maybe there are some skills, some capabilities, some knowledge that I am missing. But we don't really know what that is until we're kind of doing things, and I think and this is where when we start to do things, if we really pay attention, then we can discern, oh, what are the pieces I'm missing and who could actually help me with that? Where often we don't spend that time, so we kind of get caught up. I think this is why a lot of us have spent a lot of money on things we don't actually need because, oh, nope, it's going to be the next course. It's going to be the next, I just need to create an online course. I need to learn how to speak on the stage. I need this kind of course, that kind of course. And I think often those can often be when we're coming from that outcome result place as well. I want to, make $200,000 a year. Looks like that course gets me $200,000 a year. Where if we thought about it and we went, okay, what does it actually take to build a business that makes $200,000 a year? What are all the steps in that? I can tell you, no matter what business you're building, the first thing you need is customers. You need to make sales. If you cannot talk to people and get customers and make sales, nothing is going to work. No online course, no funnel, no magic trick to 6 weeks of whatever is not going to work. But often we don't take the time, I think, to break it down to, oh, I have to know how to talk to people, isn't in one way or another. And yet that could be through words, it could be lots, but ultimately you have to talk to people. You have to make sales if you're going to make money in your business. That is a skill that you need to practice and you need to develop. And there are ways to do that that are not gross and not disgusting and that can be actually easy and fun. But if we keep buying things that we think are going to get us somewhere and we don't develop the basic fundamental skills, it's never going to happen. And I think this is also where the boredom comes in. So I'm looking for the next bright, shiny object. And again, I think sometimes in this case, the boredom comes from maybe not knowing. I need some more skills. I need some more knowledge. And then I get distracted, and there's really great marketing out there that makes me believe that's going to be my thing that's going to solve my problem. And it's just that real basic, fundamental, boring stuff of repetition and over and over and over.
I wonder though, really, is it boring or is it too exciting? Like, is it scary, right?
Yeah. I think it's scary.
Yeah, personally. I think for some people it's boring, and for other people it's scary.
Yeah.
And I think things are boring when they don't work.
Exactly.
It's boring to go to networking events and not have anybody bite,
Yes. But
it's scary to go to networking events if you don't know what to say and you're not comfortable there and you don't feel confident about your business, or, like there's lots of stuff to unpack there. But then that's like, it's so easy to chase the bright and shiny.
So easy. Yeah. Yeah, like this little consistent water drops can even break rocks over time. Even though we don't see fast progress, consistent little efforts could make change. Having faith will help. Absolutely. And that's where these little tricks too, right? Of like marking on the calendar, putting the gold stars on. We get to see daily progress, right? Which makes us at least think we're going somewhere. Like okay. So I'm kind of getting my little hit along the way to that space. But often if we're not tracking and recognize, that's why I love our tracking sheet, right? Oh, I can see, it gives me feedback too. Like I can look and see if I've been talking to someone for doing my 10 minutes for 3 months and nothing's happening, there's a problem. Let me look at what I'm doing.
I just want to jump on those stars, right? Because tracking is great, right? Like the data is great, gives you great information, right? But the gold stars, like I'm motivated like a kindergartner. So there was a comment in here about gold stars. Yes, they do sell them. I got some really cool shiny ones at Staples. And yeah, stick the gold star. Like it's way more exciting than an X on a calendar, and it creates its own little reward too. It's like, oh, I get to stick the little star on.
Sticker, right? Exactly.
It's like, I'm like, I'm totally okay. I am like totally okay. I'm motivated like a kindergartner. I own that. But whatever it takes, like I'm a big fan. Like whatever it takes.
Yeah,
do what works for you, and who gives a rat's ass what anyone else has to say about it, right?
Exactly.
Gold stars, crayons, colors, stickers, all that stuff.
Exactly. I like this comment. I thought today's topic about boredom was so simple, but it's so deep, fundamental. Love it.
And you thought it was going to be boring.
You thought it was going to be boring talking about boredom. I know, like I said, there's so much more I want to say, because there's so many layers to it, right? There's like, honestly, each of these pieces can be gone into so much further. And then there's steps of, how do I really discover the narratives that I'm running? How do I change the narrative? What are the habits that work for me? Who do I really believe I am? How do I figure out who I believe what I believe my identity actually is? How do I shift it? How do I be more discerning? How do I uncover those ineffective behaviors that are creating ineffective habits that are leading to ineffective results? Like, there is so much, like I literally spend a lot of time in self-examination. And that's why I keep my list. And like I was writing this list of ineffective behaviors, for example, and I'm like, some of these I can cross off. And then I was telling someone, they're like, what about this when you do that? I was like, oh, I do that. Oh my gosh, I can't cross it off the list yet. But then recognizing, you know, how often are they showing up? What's the impact when I do these things? How are they stopping me from getting where I want to go, being who I want to be? Okay. And that honestly is a question I go back to a lot, is who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? And how consistently am I doing that in every single thing that I do? And like I say, it's not the super, I think it's fun because I get to learn a lot about myself, but, and show up in the way that I want to, make a difference, not take up space, all those kinds of things. But yeah, there's a lot underneath everything, that's for sure.
Yeah. You know, I have another quote from
All right.
Schopenhauer to end
Yes.
hers.
Oh, perfect.
Okay. If the world were a paradise of luxury and ease, a land flowing with milk and honey, where every Jack obtained his Jill at once and without any difficulty, men would either die of boredom or hang themselves.
Oh, that is just a perfect ending. Perfect. Perfect.
And with that, we will bid you a wonderful day and enjoy the next couple of days. We'll see you back here Friday. Same bad time.
Same bad channel.